Welcome to Lofty Pursuits and Public Displays of Confection in Tallahassee, Florida. I'm Greg, and today Jake and I are going to make some candy, and we're going to make them in the shape of the Lebanese flag. And you're going to say, why the Lebanese flag? And this is because this is part of our series of flavors where we're taking you around the world in tastes. We're doing several series of flavors with international flavors, fruits you may not have heard of, and other things that you can experiment with. Flavor combinations that are known to different countries, and we thought it would be cool if we could try to make the flags of the countries with the flavors that the country may be known for in it. And in this case, we're doing the Lebanese flag, and the flavor is Honey Rosewater. And this is a flavor I grew up on. When I poured the candy, the flavor was already in the pot, and the pot was up to about 310 degrees. We poured it on our candy cooling table, but before it cools, we need to add the food coloring. The food coloring contains some water, and hard candy doesn't like water, it becomes sticky. So we stir it in, and as we stir it, the surface area of the candy gets distributed around the food coloring, and it brings the food coloring to a boil. Steam is released, the water is evaporated, and our candy gets a color evenly distributed, and will remain workable as it cools down. My mother's side of the family is descended from immigrants from Lebanon. And my grandmother Alice was a wonderful cook and taught me how to cook with a lot of the ingredients that were traditional. And rosewater and honey is a flavor combination you'll find throughout the pastries and cookies she made. And it was something that was just a flavor I grew up on and I love. And I thought, what would be a better flavor to put in a Lebanese flag than the flavor of my Lebanese grandmother's kitchen? The candy is somewhat cooled down. The outside edges where it touched the metal has become quite hard, but the middle is still liquid. It's sort of like a candy swimming pool. And we cut our palette into its component parts, and we let it drip down onto the table slowly. And this brings the hot candy against the cool table, puts the cool bits of the candy at the top. Our goal here is to even out the temperature and make sure it's all about the same. We really need to do this on the clear, because the clear is going to become white. Thanks to the magic of candy making, the candy gets pulled on the hook. And by being pulled on the hook, we're actually folding the sugar and stretching it. By doing this, we're trapping a ton of air bubbles in the candy. And this amber, which I called clear, becomes white as the little air bubbles change how they reflect. Now, in this case, I needed more time to work with the sugar. I needed more time to make the tree. So to do this and to give me the extra time I need, I'm working with this candy hotter than I normally do. And somewhere along the way it gets too hot for my gloves, and Jake steps in and finishes the pull. If you want to try this candy or any of our other candies, please go to our website. That's www.pd.net, like Peter David, and check it out. This candy is part of the Travels assortment, Series 1. And I say Series 1 because we're almost sold out of it. But if we are, don't worry. Series 2 is coming up, and it'll have other interesting flavors. We didn't do anything from South America or Africa in this series, and I intend to do both if I can in the next one. This has proven to be a very popular series, so don't miss out on the next one. If you ordered Series 1 and we run out, you're going to automatically get the candy for Series 2. If you want to find out more about us or about our flavors or upcoming candies, listen to our podcast. You can go to the podcast button at www.pd.net, and you can download the podcast from wherever podcasts are commonly downloaded. Just search for Lofty Pursuits. We're going to build this candy from the inside out, and we're going to start with the cedar tree. And the green cedar tree is, of course, going to start with the green candy. And we have two parts. The first part is the stem, and we've put that off to the side. We've reserved the candy for that. But the leaves and the branches, if you take a look at the flag, you'll see that they traditionally put holes in it. And this pattern's become very standard, but the Constitution didn't define it that standard. It just said it should be a cedar of Lebanon, but the flag has become very, very standardized in the art. And I wanted to get as close as I could with the little holes and white spots between the branches of the cedar tree. And I'm going to do that by making one branch that goes over both sides, and then add little white strips that'll end up being a little random and give the effect of the spacing I want. There are a lot of ways to do trees, and actually, you can see me make them in a lot of ways if you look at our various Christmas videos, because I make lots of Christmas trees, and I've never made a tree like this before. A nice thing about this design is I can make one branch segment, stretch it out and cut it into 6 parts, and I'll end up folding it over the base and making 12 branches with it. I get to multiply the candy, and just by twisting the candy 180 degrees, I can randomize those white spots. Now that I've prepared the branches, I have to do the trunk of the tree, and I'm using this candy I reserved, and I'm spacing it out with some white candy. This will support the branches and let me drape it over it to make them angle slightly down. Before I divided the branches into 6 parts, I pulled them out, and I did it a little unevenly. One end is thinner than the other left to right, or top to bottom, depending on how you're facing. And this was intentional. I wanted longer branches on the bottom and shorter branches on the top. And I'm going to organize it like this, folding it over, well, the trunk of the tree, and building it up to be the point that is the tree. Lebanon's constitution actually defines the flag. And I'm finding this interesting in my research. A lot of national flags are defined by their constitution. The U.S. flag, on the other hand, is not. Like with many of these flags, I had to take some liberties. First of all, the flag candies are round. But the cedar of Lebanon is supposed to touch the red at the top and the red at the bottom, so the green is supposed to touch the red. Unfortunately, the red is partially transparent and the green is too, and if they touch, light will go through and the colors will mix, and I'll end up getting a brown effect. So I have to separate them by a tiny bit of pulled white. It sort of looks like there's 3 sections here, and there is. The center third is the tree, and then the 2/3 on the outside of the white spacers for either side. Now we're going to add the red to the top and bottom and turn it into a log of candy. A log with the Lebanese flag hiding down the center. This candy is too big to fit into a single piece or into your mouth, so we're going to have to scale it down. And I start the taper by pinching off the top of the candy and cutting it off. This little scrap here has some of the tree and some of the overlap, and we sell it in the store. We call it a unicorn dropping. We put the log of candy on the batch roller, and this comes the hard part. We have to scale it down from about 6 or 8 inches in diameter down to about 3/4 of an inch without distorting the image inside. And Jake is doing this carefully and gently on this machine, using it as an aid. And he's pulling it down to rods, and when the rods are pulled, they have much more surface area in proportion to their center, and they're no longer under a heater, so they cool very quickly. He still has to keep them rolling a bit to keep them from going flat. But if he does it right, all the pieces stay round, and the candy is perfect. If you like this video, please on YouTube go and subscribe and click the little bell for notifications. We come out with lots of these videos, and check out our library of videos. And with this candy, the only thing that's left to do is to cut it into bite-sized pieces. And we do that on our Canval. Jake blends the 5 flavors for shipping. Flavor 1 is the Lebanese Flag and Honey Rosewater. Number 2 is Thailand and Carambola, which are starfruit. Then we get Poland in plum butter, Denmark in anise, and Italy in balsamic vinegar. If we sell out of this, don't worry. We'll have another set coming soon with flavors like soursop and prickly pear. I've really been going all out on trying new flavors. Now all we have to do is check out the final product. Thank you for watching. We really appreciate it. If you ever make it to Tallahassee, come and visit. We're right off I-10 at the Thomasville Road exit, maybe 5 minutes from the exit. We make candy a lot of the time, but not all the time, and if you're lucky, you might be able to see us live. We do it right out front in the store. Like us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Check out our podcast, and of course, subscribe to us here on YouTube and click the alerts button. Thank you for watching.